We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we shared together. Ago, it was actually the weekend of July 4th. I was visiting the home of friends in Victor for a picnic. It's a sprawling home in a beautiful woodland setting, which they built from scratch when they were first married. When their original plans to homestead in Alaska didn't pan out, they bought this 5-acre wooded lot and cleared enough land for their house, another smaller guest house, and a pond, all surrounded by tall trees. It was just getting dark and we were sitting around the bonfire roasting marshmallows, enchanted by hundreds of fireflies flickering through the woods all around us. Oscar, the 10-year-old grandson, was in charge of roasting the marshmallows on a long stick and making the s'mores. I put in my order, and when Oscar handed me mine and I bit into it, a flood of vivid childhood memories came rushing back. Well, I went on and on about how delicious that s'more was and how I hadn't had a s'more in, 50 years. And this was the best one I ever had. Well, Oscar's shoulders lifted up and he was very proud to have created such a marvel and told his grandma after I left, I can't believe she hasn't had a s'more in 50 years. As we celebrate zest in our lives this summer, I'm reminded of the magic of our short lives. Our little lights shine as briefly as the woodland fireflies, especially when you consider our ancestors were the stars, born some 14 billion years ago in the Big Bang. And yet, because we're all made from that original stardust, we're forever connected to each other throughout time in ways we cannot begin to fathom. Thomas Berry writes in his book, The Universe Story, in the very first instant when the primitive particles rushed forth, every one of them was connected to every other one in the universe. At no time in the future existence of the universe would they ever arrive at a point of disconnection. Nothing is itself without everything else. He goes on to talk about the curvature of the universe, whereby all things are held together in their intimate presence to each other. This bonding is what makes the universe what it is, not a collection of disparate objects, but an intimate presence of all things to each other, each thing sustained in its being by everything else. So, turns out that in a very real and scientific sense, we belong to each other and cannot exist without each other. This gives our UU seventh principle a cosmic context when we say we respect the interconnected web of life of which we are a part. Our lives, as short as the firefly's light, are at the same time as long as eternity itself, forever evolving, forever connected, forever sustained by each other.
The general understanding today of the Jewish concept Tikkum Olam is to repair the world. As with many Jewish ideas and concepts, there are several interpretations of the idea. Let me tell you about these and then come back to the modern version. According to writer Stan Meyer, the Hebrew verb tikkun is only found 4 times in the scriptures. Ecclesiastes 1:15, 7:13, 12:9, and Daniel 4:36. It means to make straight, establish, arrange, or repair. In Ecclesiastes 7:13, the writer said, "Consider what God has done. Who can straighten, tikkun, what he has made crooked?" The ancient rabbis put the words tikkun, which means repair, and ha'olam, the world, together to create a term for improving society. The phrase is found 30 times in the Babylonian Talmud, 8 times in the Palestinian Talmud, and a few times in the Midrashim, which is the ancient collection of rabbinical commentaries. Tikkum Olam, in this sense, referred to their interpretation of biblical law that provided a way for the Torah to be carried out while protecting those who could not defend themselves. A principle of jurisprudence designed to close legal loopholes. It served a very important but specific role when applying rules of morality and justice in certain circumstances. It provided protection to those potentially at a disadvantage, governing, for example, just conditions for the writing of divorce decrees and for the freeing of slaves. It was also extended to describe fairness in business practices. For example, physicians could not be held liable for accidental malpractice. Because these moral rulings improved society or made the world straight, they were called Tikkum Olam. The Zohar, a book of Jewish mysticism, which first appeared in Spain in the late 13th century, used the idea of Tikkum Olam to describe the cosmic benefits when a Jew performs mitzvah, which are the 613 commandments that God gave to the Jewish people in the Torah. It's a lot of commandments to follow, a lot of rules. According to Rabbi Korf, chaplain of the city of Boston, Tikkum Olam is left in God's hands. For Jews who truly want to engage in Tikkum Olam, the only honest and authentic Jewish way to do that is to encourage observation of the Torah. That is actually what our responsibility is. Nothing more and nothing less, and the rest is up to God. If we do our part, God will do his. According to Orthodox Judaism, which is the strictest, most religious of the Jewish denominations, the interpretation is the prospect of overcoming all forms of idolatry, based on a section of the Elianu, which is a daily prayer. In the Elianu prayer, the phrase Tikkum Olam, meaning literally to mend the world or to perfect the world, appears in the context of the following sentence. We therefore put our hope in you, Lord our God, to soon behold the glory of your might in banishing idolatry from the earth, and the false gods will be utterly exterminated to perfect the world as the kingdom of the Almighty. In other words, when all the people of the world abandon false gods and recognize God, the world will have been perfected. Rabbi Isaac Luria was a 16th century rabbi and mystic who lived in Safed. His teaching is referred to as the Lurianic Kabbalah. He taught the following story of the cosmic significance of Tikkum Olam. Before God created the world, the entire universe was filled with a holy presence. God took a breath and contracted the divine self to make room for creation. From that first breath, darkness was created. And when God said, "Let there be light," lightness was created by filling vessels with holy light. God sent those special vessels, called Kelim, to the world. And if they had each arrived whole, the world would have been perfect. But the holy light was too powerful to be contained, and the vessels split open, sending sparks flying everywhere. Some of God's holy light became trapped inside the shards of the vessels. It is our job to release and gather these sparks. When a Jew carries out the mitzvah, cosmic repairs are made in the invisible spiritual world. When enough sparks have been gathered, Tikkum Olam, repair of the world, will be complete. In modern Jewish circles, Tikkum Olam has become synonymous with the notion of social action and the pursuit of social justice. According to this interpretation, the concept that we have a moral duty to society originates in the Torah. In Deuteronomy 16:20, God commanded Israel, "Follow justice and justice alone." The Hebrew prophet Amos condemned Israel's disregard of the widow, orphan, and alien. He declared, "Seek good and not evil, that you may live. Hate evil and love good, and establish justice in the gate. Let justice roll down like waters, and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream." Where have I heard that before? The current understanding can be traced back to the beginning of the post-World War II period. Brandeis University professor Jonathan Krasner, in his 2014 article, "The Place of Tikkum Olam in American Jewish Life," identifies three distinct groups that transformed Tikkum Olam over the past 75 years. The first were theologians who, in the aftermath of the Holocaust, looked for ways to reimagine the covenantal relationship between humans and God. They included Rabbi Abraham Isaac Koop, the first Ashkenazi chief rabbi of Palestine, and various Reform and conservative rabbis. As explained by these Jewish leaders, the Jews were not merely partners with God, but senior partners in action, entirely responsible for the execution of the covenant. The second group were educators in the 1960s who, when confronted by the youth counterculture, gravitated to Tikkum Olam with the idealistic connotations as part of a larger effort to align the teaching of Jewish values with contemporary concerns. Shlomo Barden, founder of the Brandeis Barden Camp, now part of the American Jewish University, started interpreting the phrase from the Alieno as meaning efforts to pursue more social justice. In speaking to a group of campers in 1960, Barden insisted that it was their task as Jews to fix the world. It's quite a task. The third group was political. Beginning in the 1970s, a number of progressive rabbis and community leaders began appropriating the phrase Tikkum Olam for their publications and programs. At the New Jewish Agenda's founding conference in 1982, the platform asserted that many of us base our convictions on the Jewish religious concept of Tikkum Olam and the prophetic traditions of social justice. In the early 1990s, others took up the effort to shape progressive Jewish politics around this concept. Among these was Michael Lerner, who adopted the name Tikkun for his politically liberal magazine. Lerner hoped to energize alienated Jews with a model of Judaism that rejected the crass materialism and hypocrisy of middle-class, urban, suburban Jewish life in favor of a Jewishly grounded ethic of social justice. Tikkum Olam has become such a commonly used term in liberal Jewish circles that it is the basis for a joke in which an American Jew visiting Israel asks her guide, "How do you say Tikkum Olam in Hebrew?" It has even been adopted by the general non-Jewish population. When President Barack Obama declared at the first White House reception for Jewish American Heritage Month in 2010 that America must, quote, uphold the principle of Tikkum Olam, our obligation to repair the world, he became the latest in a parade of prominent American politicians, celebrities, and opinion makers, including Bill Clinton, Cornel West, and Madonna, to invoke the term. Former U.S. President Bill Clinton used the phrase Tikkum Olam to describe his social agenda. On the campaign trail stumping for Hillary in October 2016, Clinton invoked the Jewish idea of doing good in the world through acts of kindness when he spoke at the Jewish Center at Century Village in Pembroke Pines, Florida. He invoked that spirit to urge Florida Jews to stick to their Democratic Party roots and vote en masse for Hillary Clinton. He connected Hillary Clinton's call for a more inclusive country, embodied in her slogan, "Stronger Together," to the Jewish concept of Tikkum Olam. So how does this concept translate into action? Tikkum Olam, as it relates to practical methods, applies to working in all communities, not just Jewish communities. In the modern era, Tikkum Olam is the idea that Jews bear responsibility not only for their own moral, spiritual, and material welfare, but also for the welfare of society at large. Jews are members of the greater society, and as such, their actions are not limited to their own communities. There are many organizations today who work with a guiding mission of Tikkum Olam. The entire Jewish communal world, including synagogues, fundraising bodies, community centers, and social welfare agencies participate in work to repair the world around them. Some examples are the American Jewish Joint Distribution Committee, which has served as the overseas arm of the American Jewish community since 1914. Its mission is to serve the needs of Jews throughout the world, particularly where their lives as Jews are threatened or made more difficult. It sponsors programs of relief, rescue, and renewal, and helps Israel address its most urgent social challenges. They are committed to the idea that all Jews are responsible for one another, and that to save one person is to save the world. The Ziv Tzedakah Fund is dedicated to the collection and distribution of funds for both Jewish and non-Jewish programs, and is devoted to bringing the educational message of tzedakah, charitable giving, to communities and secular schools throughout the United States, Canada, and Israel. The American Jewish World Service has founded in 1985 to help alleviate poverty, hunger, and disease among the people of the world, regardless of race, religion, or nationality. United Jewish Communities provides the life-saving and life-enhancing humanitarian assistance to those in need in hundreds of communities in towns and villages throughout Israel, in the former Soviet Union, and 60 countries around the world. Tikkum Olam can be accomplished on an individual basis, helping a family member, helping a friend, or a coworker. It can be carried out on a community basis, volunteering with a local agency, serving on a town board, working on community projects. And it can mean action on a global level, working on climate change, joining the Peace Corps, supporting organizations that give microloans, such as Kiva. It also means the donation of monetary resources. Like almost everything else in Jewish life, the rules of giving are very specific. According to the Bible, the standard amount to give to the synagogue is 1/10 of one's income, and the maximum amount is 1/5. One is not supposed to give until it hurts. Over the years, Judaism has developed a hierarchy of different kinds of giving. One should give first to one's near relatives, then to one's extended family, then to one's community and city, and finally to those of other cities and countries. We are obligated to first take care of those close to us. Only then does our obligation extend to those further away. According to this hierarchy, there are 8 levels of giving, which is really interesting because I think most of us don't usually think about it in levels. We just give money. So from the lowest to the highest, they are as follows. Number 8, when donations are given grudgingly. Number 7, when one gives less than he should, but does so cheerfully. 6, when one gives directly to the poor upon being asked. 5, when one gives directly to the poor without being asked. Number 4, when the recipient is aware of the donor's identity, but the donor doesn't know the specific identity of the recipient. 3, when the donor is aware to whom the charity is being given, but the recipient is unaware of the source. 2, giving assistance in such a way that the giver and the recipient are unknown to each other. Communal funds administered by responsible people are in this category. And number 1, the highest form of giving is to help sustain a person before they become impoverished by offering a substantial gift in a dignified manner, by extending a suitable loan, or by helping them find employment or establish themselves in business so as to make it unnecessary for them to become dependent on others. Anonymous giving is valued the highest as it protects the feelings through protecting the identity of both the benefactor and the recipient. Repairing the physical world and the social world are closely related enterprises. We know already climate change has wrought significant harm to our planet. Glaciers are shrinking, sea ice is melting, hurricanes are intensifying, droughts and heat waves are escalating, sea levels are rising, and species are going extinct. Repairing the damage will take millennia, and so we must approach the present task of repairing the world with a great sense of urgency. Finally, we have to work outward in all directions. Not only do we have to engage like-minded partners in repairing the world, but we have to develop new partners. We have to figure out how to work with those with whom we disagree, to find common ground without compromising principle. We won't repair the world if we don't find a way to speak with those with political views different from our own. For example, we must learn to partner with others to help roll back climate change. We must repair the world together, lest the human race and the planet perish together. I only learned about Tikkum Olam as a Jewish concept in the last year or so, but I believe that I unconsciously learned it by osmosis through childhood and have lived it as an adult. Growing up in Queens, New York, my parents were both very active members of our synagogue. My father was president of the men's club, and my mother ran the annual 4-day bazaar. Most of the money raised went to worthwhile causes. We observed the Jewish holy days of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. The 10 days, starting with Rosh Hashanah and ending with Yom Kippur, are commonly known as the days of awe, or the days of repentance. This is a time for serious introspection, a time to consider the sins of the previous year and repent, to forgive and ask for forgiveness. One of the ongoing themes of the days of awe is the concept that God has books that he writes in, our names in, writing down who will live and who will die, who will have a good life and who will have a bad life for the next year. These books are written in on Rosh Hashanah, but our actions during the days of awe can alter God's decree. The actions that change the decree are teshuvah, tefillah, and tzedakah, repentance, prayer, and good deeds. These books are sealed on Yom Kippur. This concept of writing in books is the source of the common greeting during this time, may you be inscribed and sealed for a good year. Of course, they usually say it in Jewish, but I don't know how to say it in Jewish. Among the customs of this time, it is common to seek reconciliation with people you may have wronged during the course of the year. The Talmud maintains that Yom Kippur atones only for sins between man and God. To atone for sins against another person, you must first seek reconciliation with that person, righting the wrongs you committed against them, if possible. Very powerful thing to think about that. Whole year's worth of sins you may have committed against people. As a child, I recall seeing my father sitting in his home office, writing out checks every month to as many as 20 different charities. Driving to Florida by himself one April, excuse me. Driving to Florida by himself one April, he got stranded in an unexpected blizzard in South Carolina. A nearby farmer showed up on his tractor and rescued him and about 20 others that were also stranded. The farmer housed and fed them for several days until the roads were clear and everyone was able to go on their way. From that time on, my father sent a donation to that farmer's church every year until his death. He never forgot them. As an adult, the majority of my working life has been spent in the social work field, helping people, and a good portion of my retired days are spent in volunteer work. Spending time writing this sermon has helped me see the connection between my Jewish roots and upbringing and my present religious home. It bridges the gap between my inherited religion and my chosen religion. The concept of Tikkum Olam, to change, improve, and fix our earthly surroundings, is powerful. It implies that each person has a hand in working towards the betterment of his or her own existence, as well as the lives of future generations. Tikkum Olam forces people to take ownership of their world. It is us, not God, who will bring the world back to its original state of holiness. May it be so.
Extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Join us for worship every Sunday at 10 a.m. at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Canandaigua, a welcoming congregation. We are located at 3024 Cooley Road, 4 miles west of South Main Street, Canandaigua, just north of the intersection with Routes 5 and 20. Look for the blue signs just before the turn. Your comments about this program or questions about the church are welcome at 585-396-1370 or at our website, www.canandaiguauu.org. Producer and editor, Daniel Brigham.